Good morning, everyone. My name is Patrick Bertinoli, and I have the privilege of serving as the Executive Director for Job Service North Dakota. And I'm truly honored to be your host for today's Veterans Employment Webinar, Beyond the Uniform. First, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We're excited to have you with us as we explore meaningful ways to support and connect with our veterans community. Before we dive in, just a few housekeeping notes. To ensure the best experience for everyone, we've muted microphones and disabled the chat during this webinar. That said, your voice matters. We'll be sharing an email address at the end of the webinar where you can send your questions, comments, and feedback. We'll compile all questions and responses and share a summary with all participants in the coming weeks. And finally, while today's session is being recorded, please note that SHRM certification credits are only available to those attending our live event. We'll be sharing that SHRM activity code soon, so stay tuned. As North Dakota's designated workforce agency, our mission is to connect employers with job seekers, and we're always looking for innovative ways to support our business community. In 2023, we launched a webinar series designed specifically for employers, offering timely information and valuable resources to help navigate workforce challenges and opportunities. Some of our recent topics have included work-based learning, hiring international students, labor market information, hiring justice-impacted individuals. If you missed any of these webinars, don't worry. You can find recordings on our main website, jobsnd.com, under the Employer Resources section. We encourage you to explore our past webinars and share them with your network. If you joined us a little early, you may have seen some of the powerful statistics we shared in the opening video, like this one. Nearly 200,000 veterans transition from military to civilian life every year. Today, you'll hear directly from our speakers about the unique experiences, skills, and strengths that veterans bring to the workplace. These individuals are not only highly trained and adaptable, they also bring leadership, discipline, and a strong sense of mission to everything that they do. The data speaks for itself. Veterans stay with their first civilian employer 8.3% longer than non-veterans. They bring 2.9 times more work experience to the table, and they're 160% more likely to hold a graduate degree. For employers, this represents a significant opportunity to tap into a talent pool that is not only capable, but committed. Veterans are truly exceptional individuals, and we're excited to explore how we can better support their transition and success in the civilian workforce. Our September labor market data continues to show a high number of open positions across our state, over 13,000 jobs. And we continue to hear from employers that finding the right talent to fill these roles remains a significant challenge. The top 5 occupational groups within the most openings include healthcare, management, sales and related, transportation, and healthcare support. These roles span a wide range of industries and skill levels, which brings me to a key point that I like to highlight when we talk about this data. While 44% of the open jobs require a bachelor's degree or higher, 56% do not. That's more than half of all job openings that require a 2-year degree, a certification, or even just a high school diploma. This is a critical insight, especially when we think about today's topic. Veterans often leave the military with a wealth of experience, training, and credentials that align with these roles. Our webinar today is all about how employers can tap into this talent pool to help meet workforce needs and build stronger teams. We're honored to have a panel of outstanding subject matter experts for today's webinar. I hope you had a chance to read their bios when you registered, because you'll quickly see that these are highly respected individuals with deep knowledge and experience in veteran integration, both in the workplace and in our communities. Each of them brings a unique perspective, and all of them share a strong commitment to supporting our military service members and veterans. I know you'll find their insights valuable and inspiring as we move through today's discussion. To kick off our speaker lineup, I'm pleased to introduce someone I consider to be a good friend, Brecca Kramer, President and CEO of the Minot Area Chamber EDC. Brecca brings over 2 decades of leadership experience and has been a driving force behind numerous community initiatives. Her influence spans local, state, and national levels, particularly in areas of public policy and economic development. She's also passionate and tireless advocate for our military, serving in a wide range of roles on task force, committees, and commissions dedicated to supporting service members and veterans. A lifelong resident of Minot, Brecca holds a bachelor's degree from Minot State University, where she now serves as the chair of the MSU Board of Regents. Welcome, Brecca. The floor is yours.
Good morning, and thank you so much, Pat, and the team at Job Service of North Dakota for hosting this important conversation today. I'm Brecca Kramer. I'm the President and CEO of the Minot Area Chamber EDC, and it's an absolute honor to join you for this Veterans Employment webinar. I'm really excited to talk about something that's personal to all of us in Minot, the impact of our veteran community has on North Dakota, and how our state and our employees and our communities can help make transitions smoother and meaningful for everyone who's ever served. My focus this morning is going to be simple. I'm going to take the approach of the community connections, the strengths, the transition journey, and why North Dakota is becoming one of the most military-friendly states in the nation. Next slide, please. So as we look, before I get into the specifics on the Minot, I want to start at a statewide level. I personally have the privilege of serving on the North Dakota Military Commission. It's a group of leaders from communities across the state, and we work together to support our military members, veterans, and their families. What I appreciate most about the commission is that it keeps us aligned, state agencies, communities, military partners, and we're all working towards the same goals. The commission's mission is clear. We educate, advocate, and advance initiatives that improve quality of life for not only military members, veterans, but also their families. And we do this while preserving and growing military missions in North Dakota. And from statewide policy to community partnerships, this commission is part of what makes North Dakota stand out. It aligns perfectly with what you'll hear today from the other speakers on workforce programs, employer readiness, and veteran employment services. Our vision is bold, but it's totally achievable with the partnerships that we have in place in North Dakota. North Dakota is working to be the most military-friendly state in the nation, and we believe that wholeheartedly that we can get there. And why does this matter? Because military friendliness is really kind of economic friendliness in our opinions. It means that we're a place where service members want to live, work, raise families, and build careers long after they leave active service. And that long-term commitment really centers around retaining veterans in North Dakota. It's one of the strongest workforce strategies that we have, and we are all in on making that happen. Next slide, please. So when we look at the commission, it's really focused on three priorities: partnership, as we bring partnerships between state agencies, the bases, chambers, higher education, and employers. We're really focused on how do we support military at all levels. The promotion side, as we support efforts that grow the missions and retain military personnel in North Dakota. And of course, on the policy side, we make sure that we are advocating for initiatives that improve the lives of not only service members, but veterans. And we've been very successful over the last few legislative sessions to continue to advance and support the mission of the Military Commission. And what you'll hear today about skill bridge, apprenticeships, and employment programs, the Commission's role really helps create the environment where these programs can succeed. And why it matters is military friendliness is not a cute slogan or a bumper sticker that we say and then go on in passing. It's truly a strategic advantage. In the competitive workforce environment that we're in, strong military communities actually gain really powerful edges. When a service member chooses to stay in, whether it be Minot, Grand Forks, Fargo, or Bismarck after service, we gain a leader, a skilled professional, and a long-term resident committed to the community. So next slide, please. So let me shift to Minot and what we've built in partnership with what we call Team Minot in the broader community. At the Chamber EDC, we focus on creating an environment where service members and veterans not only feel supported during their time of service, but also see North Dakota as a place they want to stay. And our work centers on one major theme, and that's the community connections. We are supporting our work through efforts and support with the City of Minot, the North Dakota Department of Commerce through the Base Enhancement Grant Program, and have several strategic partnerships that work to build strong military support at all levels. We also have in Minot what's called Task Force 21, and that serves as a lead for us in the education and advocacy efforts to support military. Next slide. When we look at this, we want to, it's not just focus, even though today's topic is focused on veterans, we really want to show that we are engaged at all levels. So whether you're flying in and out of our international airport, we just recently opened a military welcome center. It gives service members, veterans, and families a comfortable place to rest, recharge, and reconnect with community resources as they travel to and from Minot. But we also do things like support the Minot Air Force Base. We host an annual Prairie Warrior auction, which is one of the strongest examples of Minot support for Team Minot. It raises critical funds to support quality of life programs for airmen and families and continues to grow each year. And then if you look at it, we also do things like Operation Homebound, which is a community-led program that sends first-time airmen home for the holidays, removing that financial barrier when it's time to connect with families most. And the reason why I share some of these examples of what we do for active duty, it really starts at the beginning. We're all in and supporting level military at all levels. So when they choose to separate, or when we're working with veterans, they know that that support is genuine, authentic, and real, and has been there since day one, whether they're in service or now moving into the workforce. And then we're very proud. We just hosted our first Western North Dakota honor flight out of Minot, where we recognize veterans and take them to Washington, D.C. And these programs do more than just provide support. They're kind of a sense of belonging. And I think that's from the community standpoint where we really want to be focused. Belonging is really what keeps service members and veterans rooted here. And I know Pat and the team at Job Service always talk about it. I've been to many of his presentations, and it's always about connections and community and building a place that people want to work and be a part of. Next slide. So as we look at this, we are also administering training programs, and there's things out there that each of our communities can be doing, whether it be through the U.S. Small Business Administration. We actually do the training for Minot Air Force Base with the Boots to Business program. But I want to share the examples of what we do, for example, in a community like Minot that is unique, that we take a look at where are there gaps, and then how can we help with that transition at a deeper level. So not only do we train and do the Boots to Business program, but then we can step in and come back and do what we call Startup Minot. It's a 10-week cohort in an entrepreneurial program that helps anyone that's looking to start up their own business. It could be a military spouse, it could be a veteran, it could be somebody just looking to move an initiative forward. But we take programs that are already in place like Boots to Business, we administer that, but we also come up with unique programs that serve our community. And no different than we've supported the state's Find the Good Life program, the revamp that rolled out in June of 2022. But then we came up with a program called Wayfinders. So if you're a veteran moving here or choosing to live in our state or our community, we have our own community ambassadors that really kind of are your best friend, that person that can help you with the connections that are needed to build that sense of community in place. Because this transition is not just a single moment, it's a community process. A successful transition happens when training programs meet real employers, and when those employers are connected to the community that values military service, it's a win-win-win for all of us. And that's why organizations like ours, when we come in, we bridge that kind of core with the community, connecting veterans not only with jobs, but with people, networks, and a sense of home. Next slide. So I want to kind of share too, the impact of veterans in North Dakota's workforce cannot be overstated. Veterans bring forward leadership, discipline, safety awareness, problem solving, mission focus to every industry that matters in our state, whether it be energy, healthcare, aviation, logistics, agriculture, manufacturing. When a veteran stays in North Dakota, they bring stability, they bring families, and they bring businesses. They strengthen our workforce for decades, and that's why community connection programs and statewide transition programs must work hand in hand, because the work you do as employers and workforce professionals is amplified by the community that surrounds it. And when we're here to help military skills and transition into employee benefits, these are just a few examples of the military skill and then what employers can see of that civilian and employer benefit. Next slide. So I know we're short on time and we have a number of great speakers, but I do want to thank you for allowing me to bring in the community perspective, not only some of the things that we're initiating in Minot, but also truly at a state level. It is an all-in effort as we work this. So it's an honor to be a part of this group. Thank you to Job Service, Pat and the team. They are all in on all of these efforts, but when it comes to military, there's a deep heart, and it really supports our economy, our communities, and our future. And of course, if you're interested in connecting with our team, you have my personal contact information, Jamie Hauge, who's an executive assistant, and Kelly Roselli Sullivan, who leads our workforce development and serves as our military liaison here in Minot. We're a part of this mission to ensure that North Dakotans continue to be a place where people who serve can thrive. And so thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this today.
Thank you, Brecca. We truly appreciate the way your community has embraced and supported our veterans. And you're absolutely right. Veterans aren't just transitioning into civilian life. They're becoming catalysts for community and economic vitality. When we recognize their skills and create inclusive opportunities, we unlock their full potential, not just as employees, but as leaders, innovators, and contributors who strengthen our communities beyond the uniform. Our next speaker is Colonel Chance Schaffner, a proud North Dakota native who began his military career in 2002 with the North Dakota Army National Guard. Since 2005, he has served full-time in the Guard with deployments in both Iraq and Afghanistan. He was commissioned as an engineer officer in 2009 and has received numerous awards for his service and leadership. In 2024, he stepped into his current role as commander of the Recruiting and Retention Battalion, where he plays a key role in shaping the Guard's future. Colonel Schaffner and his wife, Kristen, are raising their son, Camden, and remain deeply connected to their North Dakota roots. Colonel Schaffner, we're honored that you're with us today, and I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Pat. Thanks, everybody, for having me. I appreciate taking your time today and appreciate you guys reaching out and learning more about what our veterans and our service members can do provide to your workforce. Go ahead, next slide, please. All right, good afternoon. I'm going to talk more good morning. I'm going to talk more about the Army PAYS program, and this partnership program is really, it's a strategic cross-section the U.S. Army has developed to engage our workforce with our folks that are transitioning out of the Army or current serving Guard members and reservists. The partnership is between the Guard, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and all you employers that out there that are interested, and also some that are already in the program. It's really designed to connect service members some that are transitioning from the active component. So anywhere out in the active force that is out there looking to transition off active duty, it was after their first enlistment to a 20-year retiree, looking at an opportunity, looking for a job. And what it does, it brings your company on the forefront of looking for trained folks. It really ends up being us coordinating with this program to get you a trained and also a qualified applicant to your folks, to your application pool without you having to do anything. That's the intent of the program, to help get streamlined those folks that they know that there's opportunities out here in North Dakota to bring them here. And that's just from the active component, but also our Guardsmen here locally. It opens the pool to folks that are in the National Guard here locally or reservists that live in North Dakota that are looking for a different opportunity, but that highlights that your company may be interested in hiring this veteran, this service member that is current serving or has now retired out at the 20-year time frame or even the 5-year time frame came out of the service. Such employers out there are companies like Bobcat. And I'm going to just tell a quick story on that. At Bobcat, my state senior enlisted leader, Command Sergeant Major Magnuson, he came off of Marine Corps about 20 years ago, came into the National Guard. He is now a leading engineer in the Bobcat Corporation. Cloverdale, example, hiring some of our retirees from the Guard Force, working in their head office. Sanford, our CEO of Bismarck at Sanford, he's a doc in our Army medical program here. So just some opportunities that are out there, and folks that are leading the edge and working with our folks that create opportunities to find employees that are qualified for your vacancies that you have out there. So how it works really is that as becoming a member of the PAYS program, you put yourself out there as an employer that is interested in giving an opportunity as an interview to one of our soldiers or retirees. What it does for the soldier then, it helps prepare them to do that interview. So helps them translate those Army jargonisms that we have, that we don't do a very good job of telling how we do things because of the translations of the title of the job we have and what we've done. It translates that over. So it's a common understanding that the job that you have is something that you already have experience in, and helps clear out that fog of what is the difference of that the Army does and what you guys are looking for. Contacting the manager, and this is all things that I'll drop in the chat line for the links and everything, how we do that, but it gets you connected to what that does. It gets your company as part of a participant in this program. The cornerstone of the program is really finding employers that are looking at a service member that has experience and fill those holes that you have, that really generates a pool for you to pick from. But now, again, it's just an interview. It's not hiring that person, which we think you will want to hire them after doing that interview. It's geared toward currently and serving members of the Army. So it's not just the retirees, but it's also folks that already live here in North Dakota, but also an opportunity to bring some of those folks back that lived a good life back to North Dakota that were once either service members that grew up here or are looking to transition from the military and find North Dakota as a potential home because of such a great state we have. Next slide, please. So the core concept, like I spoke about, is really this program helps us translate our terrible job of telling our story and what we do. translating it so that it's something that drives right into the vacancy that you would have in your force pool and your workplace and how that works over. So bridging the gap in the jargon, and we had a terrible job of explaining. Pat did a great job saying I'm an engineer officer, but me to explain at one time to say that I know how to dig any obstacles and put in minefields, well, it doesn't translate very well to you folks. So what SPACE does, it helps me explain that I can do a project management. I can plan out a project and backwards plan from the day that the project starts, that we need to have people lined up, we need to have resources lined up and all these things. How do we translate that? This is what the program does. And then I experience that, demonstrate that we have the experience. It directs into the workplace that you have, and we can explain that in an opportunity that we can shine just by translating what we do. We have transferable skills leadership. I don't like to brag about what we do, but we do a very good thing in developing leaders. From the core of when a soldier joins the military, and especially in the Army National Guard, and the Army Reserve, from day one, we want to develop these folks to be leaders. And that is the core concept of that. And that leadership then evolves into planning out when we do anything that's a mission command, mission focused opportunity is logistics. So how do we get there? Because we can't do it without their planning of logistics. So it's the backwards planning that we have to do. Then the communication at its core. We have to communicate. Everything we do, and part of our training is that we have to understand the process of communication so that everybody knows what they're doing and how to get to the mission accomplishment. So again, back to that jargon thing we talked about. Instead of saying an infantryman, we just need to do a better job of explaining what it's actually a team leader, security specialist, or logistics coordinator. And that's what this program does, helps us explain what we do from day to day that really translates into the person that you're looking for in your workforce. Next slide, please. Okay, again, talk about problem solving, critical thinking. We get a long set of problems that we have to solve many times. Everything from, I'm going to revert back to our state emergencies that we do here in the state. We had ice jams here in Bismarck, North Dakota, and we didn't have a process. How do we break up ice jams? Do we use explosives? Do we do water? Do we do salt? Well, our aviators found out after how many feet in the air with a water bucket, we were able to break through the ice. Problem solving and critical thinking, we didn't have time to spend time and study this, that our soldiers were able to adapt and learn things and do it on the fly to get the mission accomplished, but allow those pilots to have the ability to plan out and do things on the fly and make decisions while in the aircraft while flying it. And that's just an example of how we can do those critical things that we have no time to do it, but we have trained leaders that have the understanding that they have the capability to make those decisions on the ground. The teamwork and collaboration is key to how we operate. As you can see in the middle picture here, those folks from the day one that as a 19-year-old soldier will be working on this bridge, for example, and putting that together. And by the end of the day, they'll have a bridge across the Missouri River that we did this last fall. The ability and resiliency, I go back to a story of World War II when the Germans were really upset with the U.S. Army because we weren't following our doctrine. The ability to give our soldiers on the ground to be able to make decisions on their own because how they see things going and doing and how to make the mission possible is how we upset the Germans. In an example that we don't follow our own doctrine because we do what mission command tells us to get the job done on the ground so we are successful. And that just goes to their ability and the resiliency. Next slide, please. Core concept, again, I hate to brag about it, is the leadership. The leadership and the experience that you will get out of every one of our folks that come out of here, just based on being a member and having gone through the training, the accountability that we have, everything is accountable to make sure that we are successful, the mission focus, that we backwards plan everything. Everything from just going on a little ruck march that we got to plan back to, do you have the right boots? Do you have the right packing list? Do you have the right amount of water? Do you have the right amount of time frame? And do you know where you're going? And a navigational portion of this translates back to project management, to planning out your day. What does the boss need to have done by the end of the day? What does the boss need to have done to get the mission accomplished? And that's just translate to what you need done in your workplace. Tasks that include supervising. We put our young soldiers in a position to be supervising from the day they start this in this organization. The young folks I have joined my organization, and we call it the Recruit Sustaining Program. We put them in charge of leading their peers from an early age, and we start developing those leaders from the start. And we invest heavily in that leadership in we call it professional military education. So what you gain out of here is someone that has gone through a military educational program to get to not just because of time and service that they get promoted. There are checks and balances that get them there, that they put in positions of leadership and they are consistently challenged to be a better leaders and self-reflection to improve on their skills. Go ahead, next slide, please. Core concept, real world experience, even if they are in a training experience and training world, if they've not done the deployment, it is still real world. We have soldiers here that consistently on a drill weekend are put into leadership responsibility positions, and they have to make sure they make decisions, and they are in charge of folks. The certifications are key. We consistently train. We do not expect our soldiers to know all the answers. That's why training is paramount to what we do, and even on a drill weekend basis. That training is paramount, that we know that they are adaptable. They can take a civilian course, they can take a military course. And a lot of it translates over to what we do on the civilian side for you folks that you have. Specific skill sets, instead of thinking of a military police officer, think of security systems. The titles, even though they are different, it translates right over to the things that you need out in your workforce and so on. Go ahead, next slide, please. Again, the things that I like to brag about is the things that are just paramount to how we do things. The key points that, we know if they've gone through our training, they are punctual, they're reliable, they know they're going to show up. They respect the authority of the position, and once you gain that trust, they will stay around. As Pat has said, the retention rate that you'll keep that employee around is going to be there. They're team players, because we have to accomplish everything together. Resiliency, perseverance, and they're highly attributes that I believe you're going to want. The increased productivity, disciplined, to improve reliable. We know that these soldiers are reliable because if they are bought into your program, they are going to be reliable. They're going to show up and they're going to make sure they work for you. The work ethic, it goes back to that these are folks that have made it past 0.1% of the population have gone through the training and come back successful as a uniform member. They're going to have the work ethic, they're going to bite their lip and make it through the program. Adaptable to structure. We consistently put our folks from the day zero when we ship the basic training, they adapt and they have the ability to adapt. And then part of that team is creating that team dynamic that they come together as a team and get the job done. Again, highlighting that is the ability to work under pressure. We put our folks in situations that otherwise would not be comfortable. One thing I like to talk about is that getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's what really highlights what we do with our folks and the military discipline of work that I think you're going to be fine as an asset in your organization. Next slide, please. Again, I'm going to say thank you for your time. I'm going to put in the chat the link for the Army PACE program, and I will also post in there some trainings that the state has given us an opportunity. So if you're looking at this program and how do you talk to a vet, how do you work with a veteran, I'll put that in there as I'm stating some training opportunities for you to understand the folks that may be coming into your interview pool. But with that, Pat, that's all I have, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Colonel Schaffner. You've done an exceptional job highlighting how military experience translates into highly valued mission-ready skills that are directly transferable to civilian workforce. Your insights remind us that veterans don't just bring experience, they bring leadership, adaptability, and a strong sense of purpose that employers are actively seeking. So thank you again. Thank you. Our next speaker, many of you likely know, Phil Davis, Workforce Services Director at Job Service North Dakota. In his role, Phil oversees the daily operations of all 9 workforce centers across the state, as well as our Workforce Programs Department. He brings a deep understanding of both the workforce landscape and the needs of our veteran community. Phil is also a great example of successful transition from the military to civilian life, having served 21 years in the United States Air Force. His leadership experience and commitment to service continue to make a lasting impact here in North Dakota. Phil and his family live in Mandan, and we're fortunate to have him as part of our team. Phil, the stage is yours.
All right. Well, thanks, Pat, and good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is able to take a few things away from our very important veteran webinar today. My first couple slides are going to be a high-level type of information about Job Service North Dakota, and then we'll dive into a little bit about our veteran employment that we have here at Job Service. If it's been a while since you've used our services, or maybe you haven't used our services at all, Job Service North Dakota is your state workforce agency. Our mission is meeting workforce needs, but what do? Well, I think we're pretty darn good at connecting employers and job seekers. We do a pretty great job at removing barriers to employment, and you can hear me talk a little bit about that today. Of course, we also oversee unemployment insurance in our labor market information department. But who are we? Well, we're regional workforce experts that provide real-time workforce data to employers such as you or some of our partners like EDCs, the schools, and of course, our chambers out there. So the next slide, where are we located? Well, we have 9 workforce centers across the state. And on this map, you can identify us with the gold star. Now, we also provide outreach on a monthly or quarterly basis to the communities that are identified by the red icon. What I like to say is we take our show on the road. So it could be anywhere from meeting a job seeker to providing our services to the employers that are out there. But what about who do we actually serve? Well, a little bit more on job service. We are about 95% federally funded. So we operate off of a couple federal grants, and then we're lucky enough to have great partners like the Department of Health and Human Services that we have workforce contracts to serve the populations that you see in front of you. Of course, today we're going to talk about veterans. So let's do that. Now, a little bit more on our outreach, and our veteran employment team, who you're going to meet here in a couple slides, provide outreach on a yearly basis to all 53 counties and to include their county veteran service officers. We also provide outreach to our 4 tribal reservations. We take part in their veteran stand downs, which are very important to the veterans who have served our great country. We also provide outreach to Minot and Grand Forks Air Force Base, and I can't be happier of the service that Brett and Kendra provide to those air bases. We're involved with the transition assistance advisors, and also we provide outreach to the VA Center in Fargo. And of course, we can't forget about our great partners at the Department of Corrections. There, we provide outreach, our staff does provide outreach to those veterans who have found themselves incarcerated over the last couple of years. So let's continue on and take a look at a little bit of demographics of who makes up the veteran population here in our great state. Now, we have about 800,000 individuals in our state, residents of our state, and veterans make up roughly about 5 to 6% of those. Now, I know this slide says 7.4%. That slide's a little old from the data that we currently have. Like I said before, some real-time data for you. We believe we have about 45,000 veterans now in our state. And of course, they are highly educated. But unfortunately, we do have veterans that have some type of disability. And I'm going to talk about that here in a couple of slides. Now, the graph to the right, just kind of a little good to know of where our veterans served over the years and what wars and eras did they serve our great country in. So let's dive a little bit more into the workforce and how the veterans make up that workforce. Well, we have a labor force participation rate of about 70% here in the great state of North Dakota. And what that means is those individuals who are 16 or over and not institutionalized are working. And fortunately, we lead the country in that. Now, it's much higher for our veteran population. They make up about 82.4% across our state. And again, very high. We're number 4 in the nation. And you can see there with the state map, the different counties and how the veterans make up their overall labor force participation rate. Now, you might be thinking, well, why don't some of the counties have a percentage next to them? It's just because we don't have a big enough population to get a good survey there. But turning a little bit to who do the veterans work for? What are the occupations that veterans make up? Well, they make up the transportation, material moving, installation, maintenance, and repair, and management are some of the occupational groups where you'll find our veterans working after they exit the service. So next slide. So let's meet our staff here. Now, fortunately for Job Service North Dakota, we have 4 veteran employment representatives, all veterans themselves. 1 comes to us from the Army, and the other 3 come to us from the United States Air Force. Just a little hit there on Chris. We can't forget Chris and his great service with the Army. But I'm so proud of these 4 individuals. Last year, they case managed nearly 400 veterans into some type of sustainable employment across our state. Not only that, but through their outreach, they provided services to over 3,000 veterans across our state and 53 counties. So I'd like to introduce our team, and I'd like all of you to get to know them. Stop into their workforce center, give them a call, please. They have a lot to offer you and the veterans out there. Chris comes to us from Bismarck, and he covers the southwestern part of the state. Brett is stationed out of Minot, and covers the northwest part of the state. And you'll hear from Kendra here in a little bit. She's out of Grand Forks and covers the northeastern part of the state. And Jeremiah, one of our newest employees at Job Service, he's stationed out of Fargo and covers the southeastern part of the state. Now, I'd also like to point out 2 of our Workforce Center managers are veterans themselves. And so I'd like to get to know those folks too. Now, once these individuals are hired with us, we send them to a quite intensive school in Dallas, Texas, and that's called the National Veterans Training Institute. There they go through 3 to 6 months of training, and then we put them a little bit more on the job training. So it is quite intensive what these individuals go through. And again, I'm very proud of their efforts. So let's dive into what they actually do. Well, our staff provide individualized career service to veterans who are transitioning the military. Now, quite often, those veterans experience barriers to employment. And some of those barriers could be a disability. Maybe it's a physical disability. Maybe it's a suffering from PTSD. When our staff understand that and identify those barriers, we bring in some of our community partners. Maybe it's folk rehab, maybe it's a vet center, local vet center, or it could be the veteran administrations themselves. But we try to break down those barriers. We focus on long and short-term goals. We utilize assessments to develop long-range employment plans to, again, get those veterans into some type of longer sustainable employment. And of course, then we monitor, we guide, and provide consistent contact until outcomes are achieved. Now, remember, some of those barriers are you can see them, and some of them are physical, some of them are mental, like I said, a PTSD type of disability. But one of the biggest barriers that a veteran faces, and please go to the next slide, is what we've heard Chance and Brecca talk about. It's translation. It's how do we tell the story of that military veteran to meet the civilian job market? And that's one of the things where our 4 veteran reps do such a great job. They break down that military jargon, that all those different acronyms that we've all left behind when we left service, and put those in a very high-level working resume that employers like you can understand. We provide career services, and of course, we're working with employers every day to ensure these veterans who we're working with have some great place to work. So let's go to the next slide. Now, some of the career services that our veteran employment reps provide, of course, the number one priority is making and getting these veterans that we're working with workforce ready. They provide job search skills. They provide labor market information. Maybe the veteran doesn't know what he or she wants to go into. So we provide that type of information. Again, we break down those transferable skills. We help them with their resume. We show them what type of openings we have. We help them with those job applications to those employers. We provide referrals to partners, like I mentioned before, or it could be to an employer. We also provide seminars and workshops. And of course, who can forget our job fairs that we host in the spring and in the fall of each year. So let's continue on a little bit here and dive into this. Now, you heard again, Chance and Brecca talk about some of the strengths and what veterans bring to the workplace. Now, I'm gonna use myself for an example here. I don't like to do this a lot, but responsibility, that is driven into veterans as soon as they get into basic training. For me, at the age of 20 years old, I was a certified air traffic controller, not only by the Air Force, but the Federal Aviation Administration. I worked in some of the busiest control towers and approach controls that the Air Force had at the time. At the age of 23, still can't believe that, but the Air Force gave me a responsibility of a crew of 4, and I was running a control tower in Anchorage, Alaska. So responsibility is something that the military definitely puts on us at a very young age, and that's something that's very transferable. Discipline and teamwork. I was kind of laughing to myself on this one, thinking, what would be a great example? Well, I tell you what, as soon as you get off the bus at basic training and you're looking at that tall, it seemed like they're tall, male or female in those goofy looking hats yelling at you, you know what discipline and teamwork is the moment you step off that bus. Respect. I can't really talk too much about that, or not enough about that, I should say. The respect that veterans earn over their years in the military, they're reliable, they're self-confident. I think that's something that we all veterans struggle with once in a while with the self-confidence. But again, it's built into us. We are given responsibility at a very young age to prove ourselves. And that self-confidence grows over the years. We're adaptable. For me, once I retired from the Air Force, I wasn't able to continue with my air traffic control career because I was over the age limit to get into the Federal Aviation Administration, even though they just certified me in multiple facilities. So I had to adapt. I came to job service looking for help. And 18 years later, here I am as a workforce services director for job service. Communication. We're all given some type of communication skills and training throughout our career. And again, like Brecca and Chance talked about, the cross-functional skill sets that we all bring to the civilian market. So my overall message here is give a veteran a chance, see what kind of skills they have to offer. And I know there'll be a positive, mark on your employment. Other things that we provide to employers across the state. It could be helping with job postings, job fairs, referrals, like I talked about before. Our veteran employment reps are working with those veterans who just transitioned out of the military. And once we get to know them, we can make a referral to your place of business. We also provide quite a few other things. So if you're an employer who haven't used our services in the past, please look us up and give us a chance. Now, we like to have a little fun here at Job Service, and we have a tool to do that with. We have our own podcast, and that's called the Job Pod. Now, we're very fortunate to have one of our workforce center managers, who is a veteran himself, Dusty Hillebrand, and he's based out of Grand Forks. And he came up with this idea right after COVID to start our own podcast here at Job Service. Dusty and his small team of 2, I think, have produced well over 80 podcasts, has been downloaded over 4,000 times, and has been heard in 38 countries. Now that's what other podcast can say that? Now I have to admit here and brag a little bit about Nick, who's running the slides in the background. Since he became a part of Job Service, he's been able to put our podcast out on 4 different platforms. So give us a listen. Dusty would love to have you as his guest and tell your story. I think over the last couple of years, especially since Pat's been our executive director, we've kind of done a little bit better job of telling everybody else's story, and we'd love to tell yours. So if you're an employer out there and you have something to offer, get a hold of me, get a hold of Dusty, and we'll tell your story. So I'd like to end again with, hey, give a veteran a chance. Hire them, make them part of your overall employment picture. If you have any questions for me, again, my name's Phil. You can reach me at 328-5040, and my email is pndavis@nd.gov. But I also like to take a minute and just say, hey, give us a chance on our website. Visit us at jobsnd.com. So Pat, I'm going to turn it back to you, buddy, and you can take it from there.
All right, great information. Thank you, Phil. As many of you know, naturally, I'm a strong advocate for Job Service North Dakota and for our particular topic at hand here today. It's because of the outstanding work that Phil and his team do every day. Their dedication to supporting veterans and finding meaningful employment and helping employers connect with this incredible talent pool is central to our mission. I'm proud to work alongside a team so deeply committed to serving both our veterans and our workforce. Our next speaker is Kendra Henry, who has been with Job Service North Dakota for the past 5 years. She currently serves as both the Consolidated Disabled Veterans Outreach Program Advisor and Local Veterans Employment Representative. Kendra's connection to military service runs deep. She's the daughter of a veteran and proudly served 12 years in the United States Air Force. Today, she continues that service in a different but equally impactful way, helping veterans with job readiness, training, and employment support. She's passionate about giving back to the same community she once served beside. Kendra and her family live in Grand Forks, and we're grateful for the work that she does every day to support our veteran population. Welcome, Kendra. You can take it from here.
Oh, thank you. Good morning. So what I'd like to talk to you about today, go ahead and next slide, please, are 2 great training opportunities for military and veterans, as well as great recruitment tools for you, the employer, as you're trying to attract this talent. As we said earlier, approximately each year, 200,000 members of the U.S. Armed Forces will leave active duty and re-enter the civilian workforce or choose to pursue higher education. The SkillBridge program will allow industry partners to gain early access to this highly experienced and skilled talent pool. What it does is it allows you, the employer, to craft a program to meet your own workforce needs and match it to the skills and abilities of service members at no cost to you. How this is possible is these individuals are still on active duty and put in a special duty status that releases them from where they're currently stationed to come work, learn and work with you. This can be up to the last 180 days of their contract. Next slide, please. So this is a job skills training program for them. It helps the service member learn new skills that bridge the gap between their military experience and what they want to do in a civilian occupation and employment. This can range from on-the-job training, employment skills training, pre-apprenticeships or apprenticeships, and internships. However you build it, it's going to provide a clear pathway and high probability for their employment after service. Now, you do have to keep in mind that these service members are still on active duty while participating in this program and are still accountable to their chain of command. So there is a small probability that they would have to return to their duty station while participating in this program, but there are ways that you can work around with that. Next slide, please. So you, the employer, how would you qualify? What are the eligibility requirement pieces for this? First, you must have been in business for at least 3 years and be in good standing with the Secretary of State. That's pretty easy to look up online if you have any questions on that. You have a minimum required enrollments per year based on the size of your organization. If you're a small business for 200 employees or less, there's 1 participant a year. And it ranges as high as if you're a large business with 1,000 employees or more to being 5 participants a year. To do this, you also must have a full-time position available greater or equal to the number of SkillBridge positions you're required to have, because you're required to have a 75% job offer rate at the end of the SkillBridge time frame for these individuals. It does not have to be a job acceptance rate, but you do have to have the job offer rate for these individuals. You're no longer allowed to create one-off SkillBridge openings. Previous iterations of this program, you were able to design a job skills training program for one specific individual and just use it for them. Now you cannot. Now you have to create a training plan and advertise it open on their website. There are 2 employer application periods for that. We are currently in the October 1st through December 1st timeframe. Obviously, that's a bit of a tight turnaround if this is your first time hearing about it, but don't worry. The next next application window for this will open up February 1st and on April 1st. Next slide, please. So how this works. You, the employer, you're going to craft the training program that meets your workforce needs, and you're going to match it to skills and abilities for service members. So you can go as in-depth as you want on this. You can match this to specific military career fields, military occupational codes, look for, target very specific experiences that they have in the service, or you can be relying on a lot of those amazing soft skills we've already talked about earlier in the webinar, and just kind of offer some more entry-level training positions for these individuals. On the service member side, they're going to see your job posting and they're going to apply just like you would for a regular job. So you can request a application, you can request a resume from them. You're going to conduct an interview, how you choose to do that. But at the same time, they will be applying through their chain of command to get approval from their unit commander. Now, you'll choose the eligible service member that you're interested in participating in your program, and you have the option of using virtual, online, distance learning, and on-site training options to do this SkillBridge program. Next slide, please. To get started, if you're interested, I cannot emphasize enough, just going out to the SkillBridge website and taking a look around. There's a lot of different resources out there. There's examples, there's templates, and all of your training is housed there. You'll need to attend their informational session. They prefer the live session, but they always post the recording of the previous session on there, so you can go back to it as many times as you need to. You'll need to complete the ethics training. This is a short computer-based training that you'll have to go through, just kind of understand where some of the boundaries are when working with these individuals. At that point, you'll be able to complete and submit your application. Once that's approved, you'll receive a signed MOU from SkillBridge. And at that point, you're able to create and list your SkillBridge program opportunities on their website. Next slide, please. So maximize how individuals can find you for this. So like I said, you are required to post on SkillBridge's website, but it may be not the most user-friendly sometimes. So there are a few more suggestions I have for there. The one I cannot emphasize enough is using us here at Job Service North Dakota. This isn't just me selling our own product here. We are the American Job Center for this area. And so when service members are considering employment in North Dakota, this is going to be the first place they are directed for resources and job openings. So you're going to expand your reach for those service members using our website. If you are trying to advertise a little more locally, I also know Grand Forks Air Force Base does have their own job board where they specifically highlight SkillBridge opportunities as well. Next slide, please. Going back to the SkillBridge website itself, they do provide another webinar training on how to utilize the listing side of their website, but also I encourage you to just go out there and take a look as you're considering how to build your program. You're going to see a lot of great examples from across the US, from other employers across various industries for how to build your own program. You might be able to get some good ideas on time length, on how to write your training program, or even how to advertise it to military personnel from this part of the website. Next slide, please. Now, SkillBridge is a great opportunity, but you're working with a very narrow time frame when it comes to these transitioning service members. They have to start planning about 2 years out to participate in this program, and it all hinges again on commander approval on that side. So they may end up missing their time frame to be able to do this. So you may have great candidates that don't quite meet that time frame, or want to still focus on job skills training for veterans, so folks who are already separated. For that, I would suggest looking into registered apprenticeships. So very similar, registered apprenticeship is an industry-driven career pathway that allows employers to develop and prepare their future workforce. This is industry-led, it's structured on the job training. For the participant, this is a paid job and can provide supplemental education and sometimes even nationally recognized credentials from it. We usually kind of think of apprenticeships when it comes to skilled trades, but this can be across various industries: agriculture, technology, energy, education, financial services, and so many more. Next slide, please. Getting started with a registered apprenticeship program, the apprenticeship.gov website is very user-friendly and very helpful for walking you through this process. So you go out there, and the first step is select an occupation. So whatever position, whatever field you're looking to start this apprenticeship program in, search it on their website. Somebody probably has already done it, and you'll be able to get a lot of resources and ideas from that. The next part is to identify those sponsors and partners that you want to work with during that program. That can range from, again, from training institutions to other employers to job service, and they'll help you build this program. You're going to want to connect with the experts. The apprenticeship office, either locally or nationally, will be able to provide so much assistance and resources to help you develop your core components and your training program. And at that point, you'd be able to launch and manage your apprenticeship. Next slide, please. This is an example I was talking about, those sponsors and partners. When you go out to their website, it's going to list training institutions that might have the supplemental classes you'd want for your program, other businesses who have already done it that you might be able to partner with and get some ideas from, and again, us here at Job Service to help with that recruitment and business resources. Next slide, please. So once you've got this established registered apprenticeship program, to make it more marketable and more palatable to your veteran transitioning service member is to get it GI Bill approved. Your GI Bill is a training benefit that a lot of veterans are going to have access to after their service. A lot of times we traditionally think about using this in a traditional school environment, so that 4-year college degree, but obviously that is not for everyone. That's not what everyone's goal is. They are still able to use this GI Bill benefit when it comes to a registered apprenticeship, if it's been approved, to help them with books, supplies, and even providing a small stipend for living expenses as they participate in your apprenticeship. When service members go out to the VA website and look at the GI Bill comparison tool, your business would be advertised right alongside applicable colleges for your training program in the area. The one here I have on the screen as an example is an electrician apprenticeship here in Grand Forks, and it kind of just marks it on the map alongside of our schools in the area that also accept the GI Bill, and it advertises to the service member that they would get their housing benefit from the GI Bill while they worked for you. Next slide, please. To do this, after, again, you've already created your registered apprenticeship, there's just a few additional forms and signatures you'd have to fill out and get done for the VA. alongside participating in a small training from the Department of Veterans Affairs. You'd want to get with the state approving agency with the VA to get this done. Here in North Dakota, that is Chris Cradaville, based out of Fargo, and his contact information is right there. Usually after all of these forms have been submitted, it takes about 30 days for approval. And once you've been approved, you are strongly encouraged to make sure that you are advertising your apprenticeship as GI Bill approved to make sure that veterans know to apply through you. And again, all of this is out on the apprenticeship.gov website, and it's very thorough, walking you through it. Next slide, please. I want to thank you for your time, and again, highly encourage you to check out the SkillBridge and Registered Apprenticeship programs and see if one of them would be a good fit for you. Just go out to the website, explore around. There's a lot of good resources out there, and you're always welcome to reach out to me if you have additional questions as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kendra. That was excellent information. Employers, you have a tremendous opportunity to leverage both SkillBridge and registered apprenticeship programs. These initiatives connect your business with highly skilled military talent, not just here in North Dakota, but across the globe, and we're here to help. So we are running a few minutes behind, so hope you can hang in there with us and hear our finale here. Our final presenter today is David Sampson, a local business owner from Park River, North Dakota. David is a North Dakota native who attended the United States Naval Academy and was commissioned as a Marine Corps officer in 2012. During his 9 years of service, he served as a helicopter pilot, led logistics operations, managed squadron maintenance, and worked as a forward air controller. Following his military service, David returned home and stepped into a new role as third-generation owner of his family's electrical contracting business, Sampson Electric. David and his family now reside in Park River, and we're grateful to have him here today to help us wrap up today's session. Welcome, David. Go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Pat, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Sampson Electric has always been a veteran-friendly employer. We were founded by my grandfather, a World War II veteran. The perspective, I guess, that I bring today is my own background being an active duty service member in the Marine Corps, transitioning to civilian life in 2021, and now running a business in addition to having created a SkillBridge program for Sampson Electric. So if we go next slide, please. Talked about that. We got a picture of one of my grandfather's first trucks in that picture there. So we do agricultural, commercial, and residential electrical contracting, and because of my own background, pursuing veteran employment has been something that we've taken near and dear, and really trying to get the message out there to other employers of how great these programs are and how great it is to incorporate veterans into your careers. Next slide, please. So we kind of talked about some of this, but just to expand and on why hire a veteran, that timeliness and dependability, that's huge. Veterans, when they're in the active duty service, they're used to formations and obligations through any hour of the day. So for them to be on time for your 8 a.m. start or your 7 a.m. start to your workday, not going to be an issue there. And on that same line, on the work ethic piece, when you're in the military, the day doesn't necessarily end at 4:30. The day ends when the job is done. So veterans do bring that work ethic and the ability to get the job done to your businesses. On the leadership piece of it, the military does a great job fostering leadership within active duty service members. They reinforce the idea of progressing within your individual syllabi, seeking out additional leadership opportunities, and becoming a great team player. On the problem-solving abilities of veterans, active duty service throughout any given day, not just are you only completing your normal responsibilities, there's always other things that are thrown at you. So your ability to adapt and overcome obstacles throughout the day to get the job done, I really would say is unparalleled with what we see in the veterans coming out of active duty service. Teamwork, we already talked about that, but really, I guess teamwork and demeanor. Another advantage that a veteran brings to your workplace is the ability of their background serving with individuals from all over the United States and sometimes abroad. So they work well with others. The focus on mission accomplishment and the level of respect they bring to the workplace is only going to improve what you have in place currently. Next slide, please. So DoD Skill Bridge. So Kendra did a great job talking about this. I guess what I'm going to talk about today is kind of some tips and tricks as employers if you are interested in setting up a DoD Skill Bridge for your company. So as we go through this, starting with determining an ideal duration for your program in terms of length. Yes, the Skill Bridge program, I guess the one thing I should say before I start is it sounds too good to be true, but it is true. It's a great program for service members, and it's a great program for you as employers. So when it comes down to setting up a program, determining that duration of the program is critical in terms of creating a flexible program that caters to multiple timelines. And what does that mean? So the Skill Bridge program can be as long as 6 months long. Now, some consideration should be given when you're building your program to create kind of sub-programs within that accommodate different timelines, because not every transitioning service member may be approved for a 6-month program. They may be only be approved for 4 months or 3 months or even 2 months. And so that thought process of creating that program that accommodates different timelines only creates a more flexible program for you as employers to attract transitioning service members to get them into your business and get that exposure to your company. The interview process could be as simple as if you're in Minot or Grand Forks and you have somebody from one of the air bases interviewing, bringing them in and talking to them. What I've seen through my own experience is we get individuals that are interested from all over the country, and so a face-to-face interview is probably not going to happen. And so things that I've done as an employer to mitigate that is to create an initial questionnaire that you can send to that prospective or interested active duty service member. I also request references, and then I typically have to do a phone interview because they can't come in person. So considering what the interview process looks like, creating that flexible process to accommodate individuals who aren't located near your business just helps to make your program that much more successful and accessible to individuals who are not co-located. Your housing plan, this is another good thing to think about as an employer. Again, if you're in Grand Forks or Minot, maybe it's an individual coming to your business from the barracks, or if they have a house in town. But some consideration should be given to housing for individuals who are maybe not located or who will be moving to your area. So Park River, North Dakota. So what does that look like for an employer? Depending on the size, is it a smaller business? Maybe you're reaching out to a apartment complex, seeing what they have in terms of short-term rentals. If you have a Skill Bridge member, he might only be in town for 4 months or 6 months. So identifying early those short-term rental options. Maybe a larger company is interested in a house with some housing options, and maybe they already have transient employees coming in. So again, just kind of putting into consideration what you should do as an employer if you have an individual who's interested who may have to move and not have housing readily available if they join your DoD Skill Bridge program. For goals of the employer and employee, ensure that you're going over the job opportunities and what the syllabus looks like for an individual joining your company. So always easier to do on the front end, being extremely transparent. And in our industry, or my industry, in the electrical industry, that what that looks like is identifying the formal training hours that are going to accompany the on-the-job training hours and final test to become a journeyman. So you just want to make sure that you're very transparent with what the career looks like as the individual who is with your company in that DoD Skill Bridge, so that everybody's on the same page, you're all working towards the same goals, and that there are no surprises at the end. And then merging the Skill Bridge with the VA apprenticeship program. And again, Kendra kind of hit on this, but it's a kind of a great, the apprenticeship programs out there are a great follow-up just to marry your Skill Bridge with the apprenticeship program, because what does that look like? So for Samson Electric, if we get an individual interested in the Skill Bridge program, they can come to Samson Electric for up to 6 months and train, get that on-the-job experience. We can count those hours towards their on-the-job training. And then if they are interested in pursuing a career, possibly as a journeyman electrician, being certified as a VA apprenticeship program, that individual can then apply their GI Bill to a tax-free housing allowance while they progress in their syllabus to become a journeyman electrician. So something to think through. They're all kind of different programs you're bringing together, but it's just a great, some great tools to really make your program rock solid and that transition easier for veterans. Next slide, please. So what does it mean to be a veteran-friendly employer? The big focus is recruiting, hiring, and retention. There may be some differences with the veteran coming into your workplace that if you haven't had veterans in there before, you may not be familiar with. But an example of that would be, maybe there's some VA paperwork, medical paperwork that has to be completed with a recently transitioned service member following their entry into the civilian world, and that may bring additional medical appointments that they have to go to. So considerations like that you as an employer get familiar with, so that when you have a recently transitioned veteran in there, he talks about medical appointments, you're setting up some time, that you as an employer don't necessarily get scared off initially that, okay, well, so-and-so is asking for more time off, or initially is this something we're going to expect in the future? And all that to say is, no. I mean, there's paperwork. There may be some additional requirements of them just transitioning into the civilian world that you may have to make time for, and that's nothing to be scared of, and just familiarizing yourself so that there are no issues. And then what should employees consider when hiring a veteran? I think one of the main things that employers can do here to facilitate this transition of a service member into the civilian careers is a mentorship program for their employees. And this can look very differently depending on the size of the company. Maybe it's a small family-owned business, 10 employees, 20 employees, where there's one individual identified as somebody who is checking in on this veteran as they transition, as they begin this new career as a civilian, guiding them through their syllabus as they're progressing as individuals within the company. A larger company, maybe there's already a veteran there, maybe there's multiple veterans, but identifying individuals who are mentoring these recently transitioned service members to make sure that transition is as smooth as possible can really make your program great. Next slide, please. So transitioning veteran challenges, the veterans experience during their transition to civilian life. So the most important thing here for employers that I see is just trying to understand what a veteran goes through as they transition from that active duty to civilian life. Being through it myself, I mean, it is an interesting dynamic, because when you're in the military, your vernacular, your basic training, your deployments, locations, duty stations, make those shared experiences throughout a service member's career make it very easily to go from one geography to the next in terms of working with other people in the military, because you always have something in common. When you transition to the civilian world, it seems like a little part of you is lost in terms of even how you communicate, and the vernacular that you lose or that you use may be lost on your civilian counterparts. Just as they go through that process, acknowledging that things are changing for them, just makes that transition for them a little bit more easier as they go into that. And again, that mentorship program can help with some of that turbulence. And moving on to challenges of veteran face. So understanding the challenges, like we talked about, that transition, maybe some additional appointments, understanding those and then coming up with ways to mitigate that makes your program great. And an example of that would be, identifying ways, understanding how service members are motivated. I think we're all cut from the same cloth in terms of the valuing duty, loyalty, that desire to help people, that mission accomplishment. So as an employer, what you can do is coming up with ways to communicate to a recently transitioned service members how those same tenets that we believed in and that, you know, led us to joining the military translate over to the civilian workforce. You know, in our industry, those tenets, like the desire to help people, mission accomplishment, can translate over to, you know, power's out, it's 2 a.m. and it's cold out. I mean, we have to get the job done. It's not a timing thing. It's just mission accomplishment. We have to help these people. So by communicating that to your recently transitioned service members, can kind of help motivate them the same way that they're motivated in the military, and try to, again, create that smoother transition and help your company out at the same time. Next slide, please. So again, I just want to thank you all, especially the employers, for your interest today in these programs. Don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I appreciate you sharing more about the transition process for veterans. These men and women have served our country with dedication, and the programs you highlighted offer a meaningful way to connect their skills and experience with companies that are looking for exceptional employees. As we come to the end of our time together, I want to take a moment to thank North Dakota State SHRM Council for their partnership in offering certification credits. I'm also sincerely grateful to our speakers for the valuable insights they shared today. These are people who truly care about others, and when we work together, we can make a real difference in helping veterans successfully transition into our workplaces. I hope you found today's webinar meaningful and that you'll join us in our ongoing mission to empower people, improve lives, and inspire success. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Please send them to jsnd_webinarquestions@nd.gov. Colonel Schaffner had mentioned he had some information to share. We'll compile that, and any of the questions that you get, we won't put your name out there. We'll take all these questions and get them answered from the subject matter experts today, and we'll create a document to send back out to all of you on this. So we'll get answers and responses with everyone who attended today's session. So put us to work. If you're wondering about something, chances are others are too. Your questions help keep the conversations going even after our webinar ends. For those of you seeking SHRM certification credit, we'll be emailing the necessary information to everyone who attended today's webinar soon. Thank you again for joining us. We encourage you to reach out to any of our job service workforce centers for more information on hiring veterans and supporting their transition into the workforce. Even as our webinar ends, this conversation doesn't have to. We hope you'll stay connected, continue the dialogue, and join us in supporting those who have served. On behalf of all of us at Job Service North Dakota, thank you for your time, your interest, and your commitment to making a difference. Take care, and we hope to see you at a future event. Thank you and have a great day.